We game plan for PJ Hall.
Uncle. I have a list of guys I would never hang out with. Your name is right on the top.
Do you like the worst song bracket we're doing?
It's considerably better than the supplement bracket. Let's start with that.
I won a limbo contest.
Oh, my God.
Fran Brown joining us.
These guys are working their butts off. They expect to see their fans.
You want extra money just because you're North Carolina? I'm in all right
What
now.
an honor for you and Jordan to be next to me
every
daily.
day.
This is Orange Nation.
There's music, there's fun, there's us. It's everything you could want all in one place.
With Stephen Fonte and Paulie Sibilia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to have you with us alongside Paulie Sibilia. I'm Stephen Fonte. It's a Wednesday edition of Orange Nation. We got a lot of guests on the show today. John Schmelk coming
One of
up
them
at
just
12:15.
rescheduled for Friday.
Okay. 12:15, John Schmelk, host reporter for the New York Giants. He'll be on with us to talk NFL draft. Pat March, 12:30, offensive coordinator for the SU men's lacrosse team. Big one on Saturday for the Oranges. They get set to take on North Carolina in their regular season finale. Aton Thomas, 1 o'clock as we kick off hour number 2 talking basketball. And then your good friend Sam Roberts apparently rescheduling for
Friday. Yes.
Okay.
Either that or it'll push me off on Friday, too.
All right. So we'll have to wait to talk wrestling.
Wrestling, as the kids would call it.
Of course, we'll mix in your phone calls throughout as we always do. 315-437-7644. What's up, Paulie?
Not much, Steve. Syracuse has got a linebacker in the football portal, Steve.
Yes, they did.
You excited?
Well, we heard Fran Brown on our show last week say that they were going to add, the plan was to add a linebacker and the plan was to add a quarterback. And if you believe the reports and the projections and the predictions out there, it sounds like they are very, very close to adding a quarterback. And now they have added a linebacker. A guy that we don't know a whole heck of a lot about, FCS second team All-American. But, nonetheless, he visited Syracuse, visited USC, and he picked the Orange over the Trojans.
I just had you kind of chuckling off the air.
Yes, you did.
Because could you imagine if Adrian Autry had added the all-conference linebacker from FCS South Dakota right now?
Yeah.
What the difference is, everybody's like, oh, yeah, best linebacker available right now. Yeah, look at this.
USC wanted him.
South Dakota State! Son of a gun! Like, they'd be losing their minds.
Yes.
And winning changes things.
Well, right. That's exactly it.
But the thing is the fan has zero idea. They're just upset because Autry did it. Whereas they have no idea if Gary Bryant is any good.
Right. They're willing
or not.
They're willing to give Fran the benefit of the doubt. And they're not willing to give
But they don't
Coach
know.
Autry the benefit
None
of
of
the
us
doubt.
know. None of us were breaking down South Dakota State film or Montana State for that matter.
Right. But I think we know that that's the way it works right now. And you're coming off a year for Fran Brown that was one of the best in recent memory. You go back 20 years. It may have been the best season in 20 years for Syracuse football. And so fans are going to give him the benefit of the doubt, whereas, obviously the basketball team struggled last year. And
Armasaur says, let's compare a 105-man roster to a 10-man roster. Yeah, okay, let's. If Adrian Autry could have 105 guys, the messages would be questioning all 105 players on his team.
Right. There's no depth after player 32. No, it's true. And again, people are going to feel how they feel until they don't feel that way anymore. And nothing's going to change the way they feel, until we get to the fall. So it is what it is. But you're right. There is a stark contrast between the reaction to signing versus
the funny
what we're seeing
thing
with
is it just shows, like, I say it all the time and people get mad at me. None of us know about these kids. Like, none of us are watching their. It's just they're signing them, and we're like, oh, yeah, that's great. Oh, boo, boo. Like, we don't know. You just have to sit and wait and watch.
Correct. And again, is it a good sign that USC wanted him? Of course it is. Of course it is. So we'll see. They got their linebacker. Fran Brown said they wanted to get one more out of the portal. They got him. And, now we wait on the quarterback position. And, it sounds like things are trending in the right direction for Steve Angeli, but you never know until they actually sign.
2 crystal balls, Steve.
That's right. Not one.
I
2
made
of
you
them.
giggle before the show again when I asked this. Have crystal balls ever been wrong? Because I'm not like a big recruiting guy.
Of course, they've been wrong.
And a hanging chad is the proper term. I call it a dangling chad. Could there be a dangling chad? How secure are crystal balls?
I think it's one of those things that most of the time they are right. Are they always right? No. It goes back to like we compared it to an election. CNN is now projecting that, Pennsylvania.
They're not always right.
They're not always right.
That's why you wait to the last possible minute.
I think most of the time they are right. But things could change. We're dealing with human beings and, I was going to say kids. I mean, Steve Angeli's not a kid. Young men that they could change their mind. So who knows? I mean, it sounds like by all accounts things went well with the visit. There's certainly mutual interest, and you wait and see how it plays out.
And you have depth at the quarterback position, right?
The more that you've thought about it now, I know you said you were uncomfortable with how it played out, that Ricky Collins was named the starter, and now they may bring in somebody who's going to compete for that job. Have you changed your thoughts on that at all now that you've...
A little, because if he loses the job, it's because he lost the job, right?
Right. Correct.
I don't think they're guaranteeing either the Angeli kid the starting role, right?
You play who's better. And if you bring in somebody who's really good, and if he outperforms Ricky Collins, I mean, is it unfortunate? Of course it is, but there are no guarantees in life. Just whether you're talking about a football team or your place of employment,
But there's no guarantees that if this kid does come, that Collins stays.
Correct. And there's
which is wild.
But there's no guarantee that he wins there's no guarantee Steve Angeli wins the job. Do I think he will? Of course I do. Is there a guarantee? No. They will have a competition, and may the best man win. And the best player is going to play.
Michael Antonio says maybe they can have a 2 QB system. No, thank you. We did that once here. Oh,
I mean,
it's awful.
You want the best players on your roster that you could possibly get. And yes, only one quarterback plays at a time. I understand that. But it's big boy football, and the best guy is going to play, whether it's the linebacker position or defensive line or wide receiver or quarterback. Just because he was named the starter in March or early April, that does not mean that the job is his for the next 3 years, right?
Yes.
Even though he's got that much eligibility left. So, I personally don't have a problem with it. I mean, yes, it's unfortunate if Ricky Collins were to lose the job and never, if he loses the job before he gets to start a single game, it's unfortunate for him, and I would feel bad for him. Do I think it's a bad look, or do I think that means that Fran Brown is not a man of his word? Not at all. I think it's a case of if they land him, they landed a quality player. You want to add quality players to your roster. You have a competition, and the best guys are going to play.
Armosaurus in our chat says, let's not forget 2 starting quarterbacks have played the whole season in the last 15 years. Correct. And I'm going to do the old blow smoke up Fran Brown's fanny of he's got a better offense. He's put better offensive linemen in front of his quarterbacks than anybody has at Syracuse in a long time.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a coincidence that one of the 2 guys that made it the whole year healthy was last year under Fran Brown and the staff. I don't think that's by coincidence. Now, some of it is style of play, too. I mean, McCord wasn't putting himself in harm's way all that often, but
he could throw the football.
He could throw the football, and they could protect him. And, they kept him healthy.
Quarterbacks under no shot at Dino. Maybe it is. I've come to learn that because you say that this isn't a shot at when it clearly is.
That's what you say with all due respect.
Yes. With all due respect to Dino, his quarterbacks were running for their lives.
Yeah, right. So we'll see how it plays out. I think it would be I think SU fans should be excited about the fact, and you said this the other day, you said, you told the fan base to enjoy it, the fact that the Notre Dame backup is strongly considering Syracuse.
And the LSU backup is the starter right now.
Yeah.
Come on.
And, you can feel bad for Ricky Collins if he does, in fact, lose out on the job, but still be okay with how this is playing out. And of course, you would feel bad for the young man, but at the same time, if Steve Angeli improves the team, Ricky Collins should want to improve the team. Like, it is a team sport, after all. I know he wants to play, but what's best for the team? And if Steve Angeli's what's best for the team, then he'll get the job, and, off they go.
And you hope off he doesn't go.
Yeah. Well, right. Right. You hope he sticks it out, at least for the year. And, you see what happens.
All right. We got through it. Want to find out what the Giants are going to do in the draft, Steve?
Yes, I would.
Today may have been the biggest struggle of my life in the Artist of the Day department.
What is that?
Because finding 7 Bananarama songs. Do you know, I say this out, Bananarama was in the first concert I ever went to.
That's right.
It was Bananarama, the Bengals, the Go-Go's.
Remember you telling me that.
And Joan Jett.
It's your fault. I mean, you voted for them, so you could have avoided
because I like 2 of their songs, 3 of their songs, really.
Yeah. Okay. Could have done a joint.
One of their songs is probably the best bump back music ever. Like, it's just a fun bump. Jordan does not like it, but when I hear it, I was like, this is a perfect song to bump back with. Maybe we'll ask John Schmelk. We'll play that for John Schmelk and see if he thinks that is a great bumper.
What makes you happy, that song or Easter ham?
Ham.
Okay.
Ham.
All right.
I'm still on a ham high.
All right, good. All right, John Schmelk joins us next to talk Giants, talk NFL draft. Back after this on ESPN Radio.
A crunch through the AHL playoffs as they battle the Rochester Americans.
Fired up for some crunch AHL playoffs? Commercials are off. Thank me. Tell me how great I am.
Lightning are in the playoffs too, so there's a lot of hockey excitement in the area right now.
LA Orange, it's not that easy. Like, I can find the songs. I have to convert them from video to MP3. Praise me. Praise me. Thank you. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me, Showbro Michael. I'm average at my job. Do. No, he texted me and said, I can't do it today. I can do Friday. So he got back to me.
That's something.
And I said, talk to you Friday. And he said, great! Exclamation point.
He's looking forward to it.
He's hyped up for pushing me off again. Thank you, Orange Johanna. All right, let's go. We're ignoring our listeners.
What's that?
Brown sugar glazed ham from Tom's Anxiety.
How about, I should have mentioned that. What did you think about that thing I sent you where they're supposedly talking about giving conferences?
Wes mentioned that yesterday, and we kind of just glazed. I thought he did. I think someone said it.
No, he did.
Yeah, we kind of glazed over it.
Wes, he was on one so much. Just his tone, I lose track of the actual facts. Like when you're talking about the port, he's like, why not?
I think I tend to bring that out of people that don't normally act
Let
that
their
way.
guard down.
Yeah.
No, people who get it.
That was great. He was talking Paul Davis and he
And the
talked Pope.
Yeah,
The Pope breakdown was awesome.
He's a legend.
How old are you? What year were you born? 1972. All right, you had 6 popes in your life. One of them only 33 days.
Might want to go visit a higher power.
You're laughing. Yeah, your mom's not happy with you right now.
So good. That's the thing. Like some people, it's like, what's going on? Some people are like, finally, I don't have to sit here and just like talk about the ACC being terrible. Like, let's have a good time here.
Congratulations, show bro Michael. You are living my dream. He had ham again. My dream would be a house made of ham that I could eat as I was just walking by the walls. I've known Wes since he was the play-by-play guy at Georgia Tech. So I've known him probably 20 years. You're gross, Michelangelo. A house made of ham? Sounds beautiful. Is he VMix or?
I don't know.
By the way, Jordan put Gary Carter instead of Gary Bryant, and I knew that couldn't have been right. I'm like, the Hall of Fame catcher for the Expos?
Darryl Strawberry said that his best teammate was Gary Carter.
He plays too much MLB The Show. All right, John's not on to hear this, but this is a song that I think is a great bump by Bananarama. And Jordan thinks it sounds like the video game Donkey Kong.
I can see both.
I like this being as a bump song. It's a very happy song. It's Bananarama, Artist of the Day. The way that you do it. Not winning any awards with this song.
No. This was your choice. We could have had who was our other option yesterday? I forget.
System of a Down. Someone else. You voted on someone else.
Someone else. I did. I can't remember. Isn't that awful?
No. Well, come on. Let's talk Giants football.
Let's talk Giants football. We bring on our good friend John Schmelk to do so. The draft a little more than 24 hours away, starting tomorrow night, 8 o'clock in Green Bay. John, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate the time as always. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Always happy to do it.
All right, so let's start with their first pick at number 3. There's a lot of different ways they could go with this, right? So we assume Cam Ward's going 1 to the Titans. Can we assume Travis Hunter is going 2 to the Browns? And if so, that leaves them with Abdul Carter, or that leaves them with do they reach for a quarterback? What do you think the Giants, or trade down? I guess, because we heard some reports, right, that the Giants are fielding some calls. What do you think ultimately they decide to do at 3?
Well, I'm sure the Giants are going to field calls, and if anybody calls, they'll listen. But I think given the drop-off, if you're not picking a quarterback there, the drop-off in talent from Abdul Carter to the next non-quarterback to me is a pretty deep one. It's almost not just one tier, it's almost 2 tiers, at least in my opinion, the way I see the draft class. So I think it would take a lot for them to move down. I don't think another team, especially if Travis Hunter's not there, and I don't think he will be, I think he's going to Cleveland, would be willing to give up what it would take for the Giants to get out at number 3. The Giants have done a really good job of keeping their intentions secret. I think people are still all over the place on what their intentions are. And no one, this is not inside information. This is just my instinct in terms of I know how they think about the draft and things of that nature. I know how Joe Shane operates. And my thought process is that it's going to be whoever is there, Hunter or Carter, most likely Abdul Carter at this point, at number 3. And if you can get a top pass rusher, people I've talked to have compared him to Von Miller. And I don't see how you could pass on a guy like that with the 2nd overall pick for a quarterback that you don't have a top 10 or maybe even a top 15 grade on.
All right, so let's assume they go Abdul Carter there. We know they need a quarterback. Do you envision them potentially trying to trade back into the end of the first round, for instance, if Shedeur drops, or Jackson Dart's still there, or whatever quarterback you want, whatever quarterback you want to put there? Jalen Milroe, is another option. I know that you mentioned him a couple weeks back. Do you think they try to trade back into the end of the first round to get that quarterback?
I think it's possible. I think it all depends on what they think of the player, right? I mean, if you really think this guy has a chance to be your future franchise quarterback, then I think you do have to do it. If you think that well of him, I think you do it. If you're more of the, well, I want to bring a quarterback into the building, we think he has a chance to become something. We don't feel great about it, but I think we like the player. We think we can develop him. We think he'll work well with Brian Dable. And worst comes to worst, he'll be a really low-end, cheap, or really high-end but cheap backup for a few years. Then I think you just sit at 34 and pick that player if he's there, and if he's not, or if there's nobody there that you think is worth that number 34 overall pick a quarterback, just go and pick a position player, whether that's a defensive tackle, a guard, whomever the best player is on the board. So would I be somewhat surprised if I don't see a quarterback go to the Giants at some point during the draft? Yes. Would I be blown away shocked? I would not be.
There are these rumors going around that Brian Dable really likes Jackson Dart. And you've been doing this a long time, so that there's some things that leak out that are true, and maybe other things that are a smokescreen. Do you think that that's being leaked out as a way to? And I'm not saying the Giants are necessarily putting it out there, but is that a way to, hope that Shedeur Sanders falls in their lap, early in the second round, or do you think they legitimately like Jackson Dart as the second best quarterback in this draft behind Cam Ward?
I would trust nothing that is said 2 days before the draft or 3 days before the draft. I know a lot of things about Brian Dable. What I know most about Brian Dable is that he comes from the Bill Belichick school of telling people things, and that he doesn't tell anybody anything.
Right.
He's a pretty closed book when it comes to stuff like this. He doesn't go willy-nilly telling people about what he's thinking, what he wants to do. That's just not the way he operates. So, I don't know. I can't tell you if it's true. I can't tell you if it's false. I can't tell you the purpose of it, where it came from, who gave it to somebody, anything like that. I have no idea. But I would not put too much stock into that. Now, I will say in terms of body size, strength, I think, Dart fits what Dable would like, but I think so does Tyler Shook. I think Jalen Milroe does in terms of just his physical, traits and stuff like that. And I think even Shedeur Sanders does to an extent. So, so none of those would surprise me. But could I see? Is it possible that Dave likes Dart? Does he fit some of the parts of his game that I think quarterbacks that Dave would like? Yes. Brian Dable also has a relationship with Charlie Weiss, whose son was Jackson Dart's offensive coordinator at Ole Miss. So I'm sure they had conversations about him at Ole Miss. So is it possible? Sure. Would I consider that something very strong heading into the draft? I would not take that super seriously.
All right, so let's assume that at some point they draft a quarterback. What does that mean for Tommy DeVito? I know that the third string quarterback is not on the top of everybody's mind, but given his ties to Syracuse, I know our listeners are probably curious. I assume he's out of a job if they draft a quarterback. What does that mean for his future?
I mean, he could still be on the practice squad as the fourth guy. They like Tommy. They think he has some ability. So I think they try to keep him in the building on the practice squad. But obviously, if he gets interest elsewhere and another team would want him on the 53, he would have the opportunity to do that then when you get the final cuts in September. If he doesn't make the roster, you're not going to keep four. But, who knows? Russell Wilson could get hurt. Jameis Winston could get hurt. You don't know how the season's going to go. So it would be an uphill climb, I think. But I think he'll have every opportunity to, earn his way into the roster.
All right, so we look at the quarterback position, obviously, because we know that there is a need there. What else, what else would the Giants like to accomplish, I guess, over the course of the next 3 days?
I think this is a trenches draft. It's a really good defensive line and edge draft, so I think you'd want to look at that spot. Obviously, if you're drafting Abdul Carter, third overall, you're not going to, add another edge player later. I think that's going to make the position a little bit too heavy. I can see them adding a defensive tackle. I would look at I think I lean towards more of a bigger body guy than a three technique type. And that's kind of how I look at that. So maybe like a Tyleek Williams, a Jamari Caldwell, someone like that on day 2 or day 3 of the draft. I think they'll probably pick a running back at some point. It's one of the best running back drafts I've seen. I think you could get more than a half dozen starters out of this draft if you're looking for a running back. And they come in all shapes and sizes, from the grinders to the explosive guys. They can do a little bit of everything. So I think that's kind of how we look at it.
You know, when you and I talked a couple weeks ago for that draft preview show, you said something I thought was really interesting about Joe Shane. You know, obviously there's some heat on right now, right, to turn this franchise around. You said he's not going to draft desperate, though. You said he's going to do, you know, your understanding is he's going to do what he needs to do to better the Giants, and whatever happens with, you know, his job and his future, you know, that he'll cross that bridge when he comes to it. But can you explain that to our listeners, that you think he's going to go in and that he's not going to take any sort of Hail Mary here to try and change the franchise in you know, with one draft pick? He's going to do what he thinks is best for this team.
Yeah, I think that's the only way you can operate. I think that's the way John Mara wants them to operate, and I think if John Mara knows what their process looks like, right, how much detail they go into all these guys, how they make their decisions, I think if he sees them out of character or making decisions that he sees as out of character, I mean, I don't think that helps him, you know, long run in terms of how ownership looks at him. So I think, you know, Joe Shane is going to do what's best for the organization, and if you make the right picks and you pick the right guys, the team's going to be better this year. So I don't think everyone assumes they're just going into this thinking, all right, how do we save our jobs? How do we save our jobs? How do we save our jobs? I don't think that's how they're operating. I really don't. They're going to go through their process. They're going to evaluate the players, how they evaluate them. They're going to pick the guy that they think is the best. And I don't think there's a home run pick that says, all right, well, we picked this guy, now we're safe. Like, I don't think that's how anyone thinks about this. That's not how they're thinking. People on the outside might think about it, but that's not how they're thinking about it on the inside.
Going back to the quarterback position for a second, you know, obviously they signed Russell Wilson. Were you surprised that they signed both those guys, that they added Jameis as well?
No, and by the way, I should also throw guard in as a position that I think they might target in this draft too. I think they could use an interior offensive line. I mentioned the trenches on the defensive side, but I think a guard or an offensive tackle, to be honest with you, an offensive lineman would be another place that they would target to protect that quarterback room that you just asked about. No, I'm not, because I think they got him for a reasonable deal over 2 years. I think they believe he will be a very good backup. They trust he can come in and run the offense despite some of the issues he has, turn the ball over and stuff like that. So, no, I was not shocked. I just think that they really believe that they want as good of a quarterback room as possible. And, guys, we've seen it. In 3 of the last 4 years the Giants have had, they've gone down to their third and fourth string quarterbacks. Right. And I just want to make sure that they don't run into that same issue again, which is why you want to stack that room with as many good players as you can.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. You know, lastly, John, as we get ready for the draft, are there any storylines? It could be related to the Giants or not related to the Giants. Any storylines that you're really intrigued by heading into day one tomorrow night?
There's a few. I think how early Ashton Genty goes. I'm hearing the Jaguars at 5. There's all sorts of rumors. I don't know if this is like a network TV thing to try to drum up interest in the draft, that there's going to be some kind of blockbuster trade at the top. I'd be surprised by that. I think the only team that I think realistically could move out in the top 5 are the Patriots. They think they can get an offensive tackle a little bit later in the round, and they can get some extra draft capital to fill their roster out on defense, and then more importantly around Drake May. But I think that's interesting. What are the Steelers going to do at pick 21? Because I think that really will dictate what the end of the first round looks like in terms of other teams trying to trade up for a quarterback. If they don't pick Shedeur Sanders and all the quarterbacks are still there after 21, is there as much motivation if the Giants, let's say they like Locke and Sanders, or they like Dart and Sanders, or they like Dart and Shook? If all those guys are sitting there, maybe they don't feel like they need to trade up, right? They can even let the Browns pick ahead of them at 33, and they can just sit there and pick. So I think what the Steelers do at 21, if they pick Shedeur or bypass him, I'm assuming Shedeur will still be there. That's my understanding, that he probably would be if he doesn't go 3, and I don't think he's going 9 to the Saints. So how does that then impact the rest of the first round, which I think is fascinating in terms of how that'll go. I think what Dallas does at 12 is interesting. I think it'll be either Golden or Tedero McMillan, the 2 wide receivers. But I think there's some, Jerry Jones was kind of, talking about trades the other day. Could they be moving back? I think more teams are trying to move back than move up. So I think it'll be difficult for these teams to find trade partners in this particular draft. So that's how I look at it. I think you're going to run out of guys with first-round grades, midway through the first round. And then teams will be picking a bunch of guys with, second-round grades on their board, and they're going to have to figure out exactly what to do with them. So I think we're going to have a lot of surprises, not in terms of trades, but in terms of how early some guys go. You know, you're going to have some guys on one team's board that pick, 45th best player. Another team, it could be the 17th best player. So you're going to see, I think, a lot of surprises from compared to what we've seen on some of these mock drafts people are doing. I think teams' boards are all over the place because it's not a high blue chip class. I think you're going to get a lot of really good, solid starters in this draft, but you're not going to get a ton of stars. The meat of this draft is from picks like 40 to 100. 40 to 120, and you're going to get a lot of good starting players in that deep portion of this draft, even though you might not have those blue chippers at the top. Like, I only have 3 blue chippers at the top here, guys. It's Carter, it's Hunter, and it's Genty. And obviously you wouldn't pick the running back that high because he's a running back. As opposed to last year when I think I had 6 or 7 guys with blue chip grades. The 3 quarterbacks, all Harrison, Neighbors. So there's just not as many, top 10 worthy guys. And I think once you get outside of the Ward, Carter, Hunter group, I think teams are going to be, probably manufacturing high draft picks, even though they might not be graded that way.
Yeah, Giants got one of those blue chippers last year, Malik Neighbors, and sounds like they're going to get another blue chipper this year with Abdul Carter. John, thanks so much for the time as always.
Opportunity to, that's for
right.
sure.
That's
no
right.
problem.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the time. Enjoy the draft, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good, guys. Always a pleasure.
All right, John Schmelk joining us. Yeah, go ahead, Paulie.
I was just going to say, that was a draft preview, and my friend Stephen Fonte will be hosting a draft preview prior to the draft tomorrow.
That's right.
Here on News Channel 9 and on Nextstar's channels all across the country. If you're listening, maybe San Diego, Q's, in Vegas, in Florida, anywhere, you can catch Stephen Fonte prior to the draft.
7:30.
Get you ready for pick number 1.
All right. I appreciate that, Paulie, even though you're not being totally sincere and genuine, but I do.
That was a hell of a plug.
I do appreciate the plug. All right, we got to take a time out. Pat March will join us next. We'll talk SU lacrosse on the other side. Back after this on ESPN Radio.
Because I'm not on TV. I'm not Stephen Fonte. That was a dead serious promo, too. Nailed it. How come you're not hosting it, Gaper? How come you're not hosting this show, for that matter? I don't know. I'm not getting involved, Govendo. I am not getting involved. None of my business. I don't care. Nobody said I would get fired if I got involved either. I just don't want to be involved. Sometimes you just got to have common sense.
About what?
What you want to talk about when you don't. I don't know if it's true. So that's why I'm not commenting on it. I'll just watch from a distance like you guys do. This is one of those ones where I'm just going to grab the popcorn, as the kids would say. Is that what they say, Steve? Kids?
Get the popcorn.
Get the popcorn? Yeah, I'm going to get the popcorn on this one. Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I'll just sit back and relax like Stephen Fonte in his blazing red shirt. Is that candy apple red? Did you guys notice Steve doesn't wear red often? Steve and I were actually laughing before the show started today. We were having a friend moment.
Team huddle before we started.
We were having a
huddled up.
Yeah, we talked about our shirts and how I did. Steve chose a shirt that didn't need to be ironed, and I chose a shirt that needed to be ironed, and I wore it anyways, just because. Steve's shirt is loud.
It is, Tronic. It is. That's why I don't wear it very often.
Fire engine?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's very bright red. I wore it because it didn't need to be ironed.
And he doesn't wear red often, so that's why it's jarring. But speaking of red, I didn't turn red. I went tanning, and I didn't turn red. I thought I was going to be red. I felt like I had overcooked myself. I went tanning. I'll admit it. I'm a man. At Planet Fitness. I go to Planet Fitness, and I tan. I'm a man. You probably know this song, Steve. You just didn't know they covered it.
Oh, I've certainly heard the song. I don't know that I've heard this version.
Kiss Him Goodbye by Bananarama.
Why are they artists of the day?
I don't know.
Shocking.
I think one of their songs hit #1 on this day.
Okay. Show prep. Where's Wes Durham? Let's get him back on the show.
He would know all of Bananarama's hits.
He would. All right, let's go back to our guest line. Bring on the offensive coordinator for the SU men's lacrosse team, Pat March, as the Orange getting ready for their regular season finale already, if we can believe it. Number 8, North Carolina, coming to the Dome on Saturday. Pat, always great to check in with you. How are you doing today?
Great. Thanks, guys, for having me on.
So I guess we'll start with the last game, and then we'll move ahead to what's coming up next year. But you go on the road down to Duke. We knew that they were a desperate team that had yet to win in ACC competition, but were certainly capable. And they played really well, and their goalie played really well, and they came out with an 11-7 win. Just your thoughts, I guess, overall on that game and kind of what it came down to.
Yeah, I thought, Duke played an excellent game and tip your caps to them. I think some of the things on our end is we turned the ball over, at least offensively, a little more than I would have liked and a little more than we normally do. I believe we still lead the country in the fewest amount of turnovers per game, but we just kind of threw the ball away a little too many times than what we normally do. And then I think there was also some mistakes in execution between the lines really in the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half, which cost us some goals against it that kind of built the lead for them. So we were kind of chasing them that most of that second half.
You guys are 2-3 now away from the Dome, and I'm sure you've heard the narrative. Some are saying, well, does this team struggle on the road or struggle outside? Is there any truth to that, Pat? I mean, you guys, inside on the fast turf of the Dome. I mean, you obviously offensively, you guys have been clicking all season. Does something change when you go outside or when you guys go on the road, or is it just kind of a coincidence that you're playing good teams on the road and those happen to be some of your losses have been away from the Dome?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it has to do with the opponents that we play. We play an extremely tough schedule, so when we're getting outside the Dome, a lot of times those are against top 10 opponents, ACC level opponents, Big Ten opponents early in the year. So I don't know if there's any truth to the fact that, we're worse outside of the Dome or better inside of the Dome. I think we love the fan support that we get, and we do get a lot of people that attend our games in the Dome, and we're fired up about that. But all of the guys on the team did not play in indoor facilities like we have here at Syracuse before they got here. So they're used to playing outside and used to playing in the elements too.
How is the team handling? I hate to even call this a slump because you've lost 2 games to the number 1 ranked team in the country, and then at a neutral site, and then a road game against a team that's in the top 10 at Duke. So I don't know that I would call it a slump, but how is the team handling back-to-back losses at this stage of the season, and kind of where you guys are in the polls right now as you fell outside the top 10?
Yeah, top 10s and things like that, we don't really look at a ton of that stuff. We try and compete and win every day, and if we do things that maybe aren't up to par or up to the standard each day, we'll try to improve them the next day. So anything that kind of went wrong in the Duke game, obviously we're going to work on, especially early in the week. And then as we start to prepare for North Carolina, we're just trying to win that day, and really the next play, the next game, whatever's up next, attack that moment.
Can you update us at all on Owen Hiltz? We were talking earlier in the week on the show about, he clearly does not seem 100%, and my understanding was it was a question mark whether he was even going to play against Duke. Is he doing better? Do you expect to see him out there Saturday? Can you give us any sort of update on his status?
Yeah, we have a lot of guys kind of banged up, but it's a long season. We play a contact sport, so we're going to have guys with bumps and bruises as we go. It was nice to get some guys back that we haven't had in a while on the field at Duke. And then when it comes to Owen, he played the entire game. So, we expect to have a full litany of guys out there to play this week.
You mentioned some guys who have come back. Finn Thompson is one of those guys. I mean, can you speak to, I guess, what he brings to the table for this team and, how nice it is to kind of have him back on the field?
Having Finn out there is great. Finn is extremely, extremely smart lacrosse player. So he makes a lot of hidden plays that I think people don't see, where it's, maybe an on-ball pick that creates a goal, or an off-ball pick that opens somebody up, or a cut that stretches the team defense and allows somebody to kind of be open behind him. Things that you don't normally see when you're watching the ball and watching the game. He's great. He's also a tremendous leader with the group inside the offense. He knows our offensive system inside and out. He's been with us for 3 years, so it's great to have him back out there and in action.
As you said a moment ago, you're playing a tough schedule. It's a really tough opponent week in and week out, and you've got another tough one, obviously, to close out the regular season with North Carolina. A lot on the line as well. If you win the game, you're the 1 seed in the ACC tournament. You lose it, you probably drop to the 4 seed. What can you tell us about North Carolina? What, I guess, stands out to you as you get ready to face the Tar Heels?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with them is they always seem to tip the field as far as possessions. So they're 90% of the time, or most of their games, they're going to have a possession advantage on the other team. They ride, they're aggressive. You got a 10-man ride you're going to have to face most of the time, and they're extremely good facing off. So they're going to pose a threat there. We think we can battle, be efficient on the clear and battle at the faceoff X and even those possessions as much as possible and gives ourselves a chance. They got an extremely talented young group with their offensive guys, some very skilled players, high-level recruits that have performed well from this year. And then defensively, they run Coach Petramala's system to a T, so they're very good there as well.
You touched on it a little bit there, but, Pat, what would you say this game is going to come down to on Saturday? Keys to victory for you guys.
Yeah, I think execution of the normal stuff, making sure that we execute in between the lines, the riding, the clearing pieces, 50-50 ground balls, which is a big thing that we talk about with our guys. Who's gonna pick the ball up when the ball's on the ground, and it's a fair shot for 2 players to get it, one from their team, one from our team. So I think that's going to play a large role, and then just making sure we execute at both ends of the field, offensively and defensively.
All right. Again, it's a big one inside the Dome on Saturday. 5:00 start between Syracuse and North Carolina, and if SU wins it, they'll be the number 1 seed in the ACC tournament. Coach, thanks so much for the time as always. We appreciate it. Best of luck Saturday. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, guys. Great to be on with you.
All right, Pat March joining us here on the show. With that, we'll open up the phone lines for a segment at 315-437-7644. Todd Thomas will join us at 1 o'clock. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.
All right, we're going to do a year of the day of the month. for tomorrow.
Nice.
So I'm gonna.
No show tomorrow.
Oh yeah, for Friday. So I'm gonna generate a year. That's why I was doing it. 1995. Have we done 1995?
That's live on Twitch and
1995. Oh yeah, that's a good year. TLC was owning. Oh, bangers all around. 1995 will be the year of the day of the month. I think I'm going to go Boombastic by Shaggy. I got 5 on it.
Oh, Candy Rain. That's it. That's on there.
Candy Rain by
For real.
yeah.
Oh, I might have to go there.
Big Papa by the Notorious B.I.G. Dear Mama by Tupac.
Oh, I love that song too. That's not a good bump back though.
Tootsie Roll by the 69 Boys. You know what that name means, Steve? Yes? Okay, just wanted to check. You know what they're talking about when they say they want to see a Tootsie Roll, right?
Yes.
100% Pure Love by Crystal Waters, also a banger.
Keep Their Heads Ringing, Dr. Dre. That's a good
Oh, yeah. Cotton Eye Joe by Rednecks. Give It To You by the Brat. You know what he's going to give to her, Steve. You know what that song's about?
Players Anthem. I do like that song. Junior Mafia.
I get to watch perfect practice every day with our own workers' compensation authority, Tony D'Amato. Thanks, Joe. I love what I do and being part of the
Sugar Hill by AZ. That's a good song too. That's a really good bump back. This is tough, man.
That's a good one. Ask your wife.
She's not gonna pick that though.
No, ask your wife about this. She's got to pick a song.
CH Insurance in your corner.
SyracuseCredit.com by McGuire. It's the new way to buy. No matter what your past credit history has been, Syracuse, this is the largest pre-approval program with the absolute best inventory of new and used vehicles in stock, ready for immediate delivery. If you have been turned down elsewhere for any reason, go to SyracuseCredit.com or come into our offices at McGuire Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Syracuse at 959 Highwood Boulevard West, online or in person.
Hello. Hey, Perry. I'm actually I'm doing the radio show right now. We happen to be in a commercial. Can I call you after I get off the air? Okay, I'll call you this afternoon. All right, thanks. All right, bye-bye.
Hey, Gaper, I've been going to the gym for about 2 months now. Do my shoulders look more manly? Look at me sit up straight here. Steve, how my shoulders looking? Do I look like a man?
Good, yeah.
I need Gaper to tell me, though. He's the expert on what's manly and who's good at radio and who's a good basketball coach. Thank you. A+ results. Down 7 pounds. My belt doesn't hurt my belly anymore right now. Bananarama reunited on this day, Steve. Apparently they were just banana. pouring by themselves. And then Rama came back.
Sounds like Rick Astley a little bit.
I can't help it, Steve. Whoa, settle down, Bananarama. Did you hear those lyrics?
I was not paying
It was
attention.
aggressive. They were talking about being delicious to eat and whatnot. You know what can help you reach your audience, Steve?
Galaxy Media?
Correct. This show. We always have tons of people watching us on Q Sports Talk, listening on the radio, streaming us on the World Wide Web. If you'd like to be part of this great radio show and others, Gomez and Company over on TK, the show on K-Rock, Inventors of Radio as we know it, Josh and Cody, the godfathers of radio. All of them could help you, even digital. We could help you with digital. You want to be on a digital platform? Like sometimes I'm watching the Padres games on MLB TV or something like that, and a car dealership from local area will come up. And I'll be like, how did that get there? Galaxy Media does that for you in your marketing. It's fascinating. So give us money. Thank you.
Thank you for your public service announcement.
The Poly NIL Fund, as we're calling it.
We've got it.
Tomorrow, no show.
Right. Tomorrow, no show.
Steve, why? Why don't you tell the listeners why?
So tomorrow's the NFL draft, and I will be hosting a show from 7:30 to 8 o'clock on ABC affiliates, Nexstar owned across the country, including News Channel 9, taking you right up to network coverage. Network coverage starts at 8 on ABC and ESPN. We'll do a show from 7:30 to 8 o'clock. So I will be out of town for that. I'll be in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. That's where we are hosting the show from their studio down there. So, yeah, check it out.
So no show tomorrow because I work with a host who is big time.
Did you see the show Saturday? We had our first draft show air Saturday night. No.
Yeah, I watched it twice.
The blank stare says you did not see it.
I watched it twice.
Okay.
It was so good. I'm so, I know so much about the draft now because of that. Watch that show twice. The best radio guys is apparently not us, Steve, according to Michael Antonio. But for, as they call us, media market schlubs, we have 3 awards.
When do we find out about the next one?
Well, probably in the next couple of weeks. I would assume June.
Keep me posted.
Early June. I will. Last year we didn't win. Now we are on a mission.
We've been hungry.
Yeah.
Well, there was a reason, right? I mean, didn't we?
We sucked. We sucked for a year.
Well, no, didn't we lose like 8 months?
Hey.
Okay.
We're not going to call out Jordan for deleting 8 months.
I didn't say it
of our
was
show.
Jordan's fault. I wasn't going to say anything about Jordan.
He has made it abundantly clear that I can throw him under the bus on this.
On that particular topic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he has. He has gone. So I can throw Jordan under the bus.
Yeah, so that was our built-in reason / excuse.
Yes, we have excuses.
Yes, but
Coach Autry put our tape together. That was a good one. I cracked myself up. It's Coach Autry's fault. It was all Joe Girard. Joe Girard and Coach Autry put our tape together.
Yeah.
And Trevor Cooney was the producer. But yeah, we're back at it. We'll hopefully win one this year.
Let's hope so.
Someone in the chat, Paulie, we know you throw steel because I go to Planet Fitness, Steve. I don't know if you know this. I work out. What does Steve do to work out? That's a good. We should do a segment in the summer that's like Ask Steve or Ask Paulie a question. So there's your today's Ask Steve. Paulie, you go to Planet Fitness. Stephen Fonte, what do you do to work out?
So I don't lift like I used to. Like I used to work out with weights like you do. Because of my neck and back, I can't. So, I do run. I do walks. I do push-ups. I do, I play
walks?
golf. Yeah.
Oh.
If I don't have time for a run, I will, it's good to get exercise. So full disclosure, because I always give you full disclosure, there are times when I'm at work and I'm having a really busy day, I'll take 20 minutes and I'll do laps around our parking lot at Channel 9. just to get a little bit of exercise. So that's why I said walks. And sometimes, go on a walk with my wife. But, yeah, run, push-ups, play golf, don't swing at drivers, so those kinds of things.
I will work out. I'll throw some steel 5 days a week. But I walk 2 miles on the treadmill every day.
Good.
And some days I put it at an 8 incline.
Do you really?
And walk there. So I sweat my ass off.
That's uphill. That's aggressively uphill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to build a nice rump. That's what
you're going for?
does. Yeah.
Okay. That's what you're going
I
for.
want to be able to fill out my jeans, if you know what I mean.
Gavendo says, why don't you use a driver? I don't use a driver when I play golf because of my neck and back.
Apparently that hurts more.
It does. Because you swing you swing more aggressively with a driver, and it's a wider range of motion. Whereas irons, for whatever reason, the irons don't bother me. When I swing a driver, it hurts.
People are asking what my best bench press is. I don't think I've ever, I use the machines, and they don't have a bench press machine. I do that one, the flies.
Yeah, sure.
I do that one. Cool.
Yeah, I would like
I'm
to.
a scrawny little human. I'm not out here saying I throw heavy weights.
It's not
around,
the idea.
guys.
You want to get exercise.
I'm just trying to lose my gut. My belt was leaving a mark on my stomach.
Maybe
when I
it's
sat.
maybe it's time to loosen the belt.
No,
Oh, I see what you mean.
my belt was leaving a mark on my stomach.
Gotcha. Okay.
On the under part.
I didn't know when you were sitting. I thought you meant just about your business.
Had built a roof over my belt, and I didn't like it.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, people are saying get a bigger belt. I understand what you're saying, though.
Bigger belt.
Right? It's
It was hurting my undercarriage of my belly, and I don't want to have an undercarriage. I want to be toned.
That's fair.
Thank you.
All right, let's hit a timeout here. We've got Atan Thomas coming up next. We've got today's business in the second hour. We can take your phone calls as well, but we are going to talk basketball in the next segment. Atan Thomas will kick off hour number 2 next on ESPN Radio.
I like how you guys just come up with ways to make the belt mark go away that it was leaving on me instead of actually working out. Get suspenders. Don't wear a belt. Be fat. I don't want to be fat. Thank you. Good for. I think ask Steve and Paulie would be a good segment for the 45. What do you think?
Sure. But then you might not like the answers because you ask me questions. You're like, why do you tell me these things? Like I'm going to tell you the truth.
Be
okay.
Honest. Have you ever been in 4 states at the same time? No, I haven't. Yes, you have. There's so many questions. How did you sleep? That's a great question. Oh, I'm eating healthy too, LA Orange. I'm doing carnivore.
Kevin, I do not sleep enough.
I am doing a slight calorie deficit so that I don't lose muscle. High protein. How's your
Protein's good for you.
How's your finger, Steve?
My finger's good. My finger is healed completely.
The Cuse does yoga with his wife. I did decline a cookie earlier, and I got yelled at.
Are there cookies? I'm not gonna. I don't
know if there's any left.
Really?
Yeah. You know who made them?
Who?
Rick Giulio, and he didn't offer you one. He's a shitbag.
What kind were they? You don't know.
Crinkle cookies? Is that what he called them?
What's a crinkle cookie?
I don't know. Chocolate espresso.
So, D. Hayes, 65. How did I hurt my back or neck? That is the $1 million question. I don't know. I got in a car accident many years ago where I was at a stop sign and I got rear-ended by a driver.
Gavendo?
And I think it's related to that, but the interesting thing about that was my neck and back did not hurt initially after I was injured. Or after I got in the accident, but the doctor thinks that maybe that's where it generated from, and it ended. They did some damage, and so anyway, I've got a herniated disc, and the top of my neck, or the base of my neck, top of my back is kind of screwed up. But I can't really pinpoint it other than that happening, so I don't know.
2015, we formed Point Guard Advisors to tie together a CPA firm and a wealth management firm. We were separate operating entities, but we were working together. Point Guard Advisors' philosophy is give us the ball. We don't need to do everything for our clients, but we want to be the lead. We have a game plan. We innovate and we execute.
I had Jen. I had an MRI done.
All I can say is experience. Over the past 25 years, we've been through the
I don't know what an upright scan is. Is that like I was laying down for the MRI? Do you mean do I have like a scan standing up? I don't. I did not do that. I didn't know that was a thing, to be honest with you.
How about going to a doctor?
I have gone to a doctor. I've gone to a doctor multiple times, and I've tried to manage it with PT. Sometimes it's better, and sometimes it's not. And I go through, like, if I don't aggravate. What's that?
Call Harding Mazzotti. We're broadcasting from the Harding Mazzotti studios.
And Theo Cuse, I did not.
Congratulations, Satchel.
I did not call a lawyer or anything because I didn't. It didn't even occur to me that that's what caused my back and neck pain because it happened like months later. But I think that's what happened.
That's what Jerry did. He got his neck fused. No, he's not a chiropractor guy. I can answer for him. Chiropractors are not safe in Paulie's book.
So, Armosaurus, I went to a chiropractor because I was like willing to try anything, and I went like 3 times and everything was fine, and then I had a really bad experience where he messed up something to the point where I woke up the next morning and I thought I was having a stroke because I lost my balance for like hours. It was a horrible experience. I legitimately thought I was having a stroke, and I didn't go back after that. And Michelangelo, that is why I have not gotten surgery because they said that is a possibility, and I do not want to be paralyzed. So I'm just sucking it up.
Welcome back to Orange Nation. Bananarama is our artist of the day. Robert De Niro's waiting. So is Ton Thomas. Not much going on in the world of Syracuse basketball, Steve. But the NBA playoffs are abuzz. Are they not?
They are.
Thank you.
NBA playoffs underway. Ton Thomas joining us. Ton, Paulie says nothing's going on with Syracuse basketball. Did you see the story out there? And I'm kind of hitting you with this blindly, so if you didn't see it, you didn't see it. But did you see Michael Carter Williams is looking into a possible boxing career? Did you read about this earlier this week?
I did. I enjoy watching him commentate and give his opinions and breakdowns on the games on college basketball. But I did not know that this was the direction he was taking. So it was a little bit surprising.
Yeah, surprised us all. You can speak to that a little bit, certainly. I mean, you played at a high level for so long. When you retire from the game, do you have to like replace that competition with something like, I don't know, if you're a golfer or if you have another sport that you play on the side, do you have to try and replace that when you're without it, when you don't have that adrenaline rush on a night in and night out basis?
Well, it kind of depends on the person. So, I played with MJ, Michael Jordan.
Sure.
And he was competitive with everything. Like right now, like you on a golf course or whatever it is, it's always a competition. So I've never really seen anybody do it to that level like he does, literally. But no, I guess it depends. You have to find a passion, another passion. And for different people, it's different things. But yeah, no, like I said, I guess it shocked everybody else. I didn't think that was the direction he was going to go. But hey, more power to him.
Was that a thing for you? Like, did you find yourself like missing that adrenaline rush night in and night out, or was it not a big deal for you when you retired? It's just like, okay, that phase of my life's over, and on to the next thing.
Yeah, kind of more that phase of my life was over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On to the next, I do a lot of writing, do a lot of speaking, and so I get to the adrenaline that way. Then I became, a sports parent.
Sure.
So, see my son play, see my daughters play. Just came from a volleyball tournament last weekend, and you get all the adrenaline you need when you're a sports parent.
Of course.
that gives you your fill.
Getting punched in the face isn't one of the things I'd want to do.
Well, no, you don't want that.
Is that I've had a couple of my kids go through playing soccer at a high level and whatnot, and I was never a soccer player, but I find that as a parent it's almost more difficult, more stressful than it is like when you were a player. At least I found that with me, because like when you're a player, there's something you can do about the outcome. When you're a parent, you're helpless, right? Do you find that as well?
Oh, definitely. And each kid is different, so their forms of motivation is different. You know what I mean? How they react to a good game or a bad game is different. And you then have to really learn your kids and say, okay, I can't be the way I am with this kid than I am with this kid, because they're not going to respond the same way. So it's fun. But yeah, no, especially with volleyball, anybody that knows about travel volleyball, it's a whole different animal. So really, by the third day, you're just exhausted. You know what I mean? You just look like, whatever's going to happen, can we just finish so we can go home? You know what I mean?
Sure.
And all the parents are just completely worn out.
You're also a father of a kid who's in the transfer portal right now, and you probably get to see a side of this that a lot of us don't, and you don't have to go into specifics of what teams and where, but what has that process been like for you guys? Is it like high school again, or is it completely different recruiting this time?
It's a little bit different because now you know a little bit more, and everything has kind of changed, so you kind of can sift through the BS a little bit easier, and so it's really apparent. And, it's interesting because when you start hearing coaches talking, within the first 10 seconds, you know if it's BS or not. And I think that's the part. And as different, parents are talking and they're kind of having the same kind of experiences, it's interesting journey. You know what I mean? I will say it's an interesting journey.
What about the NIL side of it? Has that been, do they lead with that, or is it just, hey, we can do this, or maybe we can do this?
Well, it depends on the program, but you also know that if a program is saying, well, hey, you're this big piece of this puzzle, and we love you, and you do this and this and this. And you see their NIL offer, you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't equal what you just said. Right. You know what I mean? Like it cuts through a lot, when they put through the offer. Now, I've heard from different people, sometimes parents like to lead with the NIL. Before we get to anything else, what is with the NIL? That's some parents like to do that. Or you just allow the coaches to talk, and then they bring it up. You know what I mean? So I think it all kind of depends. And football's a lot different. So I will say that football's a lot different than basketball, but yeah, it's definitely a different process. It's not like how it was when I was coming out of high school at all. Yeah. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for sure. I saw a report literally yesterday estimating that Kentucky basketball, their entire roster, we're at $19 million.
Yeah.
Do you think that a cap needs to be put on? Like, does there need to be a salary cap in college, or are you of the mindset of, listen, if the athletes can make that money, more power to them. They should make as much as they can.
So I'm of the mindset that unless you're going to put a cap on the coaches, I don't think there's any reason to put a cap on the players. To be honest with you, I think that each program is ran differently. Each program has a different set of resources and capital that they can utilize for players or for the entire program. And if one school can raise a certain amount, then why should they be limited? You have a Kentucky that's an outlier. I saw that roster, and that was absolutely ridiculous that they're spending that much money, and probably still not going to win a championship. But that's the direction that they're choosing to go to. But no, I don't. I think that it should be an open market. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, and just when you see it on paper, they're like, wow, they're paying $19 million on a roster. And as you said, there's no guarantee. Yeah, go ahead.
No, but it's interesting though, because I remember before when with me and Devo, he kept saying that no, $5 million is not enough. In order for us to be competitive, we have to. And if you would have seen how the fans were responding to him and saying, no, you're out of your mind, you don't know what you're talking about, $5 million is plenty. And Devo kept saying, no, I'm telling you, it's not. Like, we look at what other teams are spending. You're going to see more and more teams that really want to be competitive. They're going to be spending upwards and, way past $5 million, and we're going to lose players to them. So unless you want to be in the same position that we were in this year, we're going to have to get our NIL situation straight. And, I think people are seeing it a little bit more now.
Yeah, I think St. John's is another program that's in the double digits already, and they're not done yet. It's you're right. I mean, the price tag is kind of getting out of control here.
Well, we were talking to NIL guys here at Syracuse who said $10 million is probably what you got to do to get to it, and that's not even close to where you still haven't even caught up with Kentucky or come close. It's crazy.
Yeah, and
Kentucky's an outlier though, so most places aren't where Kentucky is. Yeah, you have to make sure of that. But that's.
I don't know if that's true. Like, I think Arkansas can keep up with them. I think there's a lot of schools that keep up with them.
Yeah. There's a handful. I'm saying the majority of universities aren't spending that much because they don't have that much to spend. Now maybe they're going to try to get to that level, that they see where Kentucky is going and who they're attracting and everything like that. But most universities are not at that level for basketball right now. Yeah. They're just not.
All right, it's on. Paulie mentioned NBA playoffs. Did you have another question?
I did have one more that I wanted to ask you about. Go
for it.
What do you think of this? A lot of players are putting in themselves in the transfer portal, and their eligibility is up, and that's because there may be a ruling that may put a hold on the eligibility limits. What do you make of that? Like, do you think players should be able to play more than 4 or 5 years?
Well, it doesn't matter what I think. It depends what the courts say. So if the courts say that they can play 5 years, then that's why you're seeing all the players put their names in there just in case. And if the courts rule that you can play 5 years, then they might be able to get petition for that extra year. I'm not mad at them. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of what the courts say and what's allowed. So if the courts go in that direction, then you'll see guys playing, 5 years all around. And when you have the ability to make the amount of money that you can in college, it's beneficial to guys to want to play more. Listen, Hunter Dickinson, went to the same school as my son, and I know he would come back for another year if he could. I mean, because you're going to, even playing in the G League, you're taking a pay cut from what you're able to make in college. So, from a player standpoint, they're going to love it. Now, from a fan standpoint, do you want that many, players in college that have played 5 years? I'm sure you'll get differing opinions. I think it sucks for high school players because then when you're coming from high school, I mean, unless you're like a McDonald's All-American, then you're going to have to take a tough road because you're playing against guys that are older and older. So it kind of depends. What do you think, though, Paulie? What's your position on it?
I don't care if they play 5 years. I kind of would like it to be a blanket 5 years. You get 5 years and that's it, and not the whole you got to play like 5 and 6 or 4. Right now it's 4, and you got 5 years to play 4.
5 years to play 4.
Yeah, I would just say, hey, you get 5 years. That's it, and move on.
So you don't like the red shirt situation?
What if they're injured for 1 year? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. What if they're injured 1 year?
Well, I guess injury would be it, but they like some guys aren't injured and they just throw the red shirt label on them immediately just to keep them. So I would do the injury, but not the preseason red shirting, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay. Interesting. I mean, that's kind of what they're looking at with football, right? Where you can play the 4 games, so you're technically still part of the team. You're still playing, but you can preserve that extra year if you only play 4 games. So, interesting stuff. Hey, Atan, I just want to get your thoughts on NBA playoffs before we let you go. Any series that you got your eye on? The Knicks, obviously, in a dogfight. They're 1-1 in their series. And anything that kind of piques your interest right now in the NBA?
Well, I'm watching the Timberwolves and the Lakers. And that's a definitely interesting series. Everybody kind of thought that they were going to win last night. But, going back to Minnesota, that's going to be one everybody should keep their eye on, of course. And I want to see how Kawhi stays healthy. I'm rooting for Kawhi. Kawhi's been through a lot of injuries. And I think, I know it seems like every year we say, well, this could be the Clippers' year. But a healthy Kawhi, the Clippers are dangerous. So we got to see how that, turns out. And, of course, I grew up a Knicks fan, so I'm rooting for the Knicks. I think Detroit, is going to give them a a good run for their money, but I think the Knicks should come out in that series.
You brought up Kawhi, man. He was so good the other night. Scored 39 points, but he was so efficient. 15 for 19 from the field, and really just could not miss. And you're right. Like with him, like if he's healthy and if he's scoring, like now he's not going to go 15 for 19 every night. But if he's playing like that or at that level, they are going to be very tough to beat. You're right about that. They might be a sleeper out west.
Oh, I definitely agree. And I see them beating Denver, as long as he stays healthy. That's the caveat that you guys got to keep saying. As long as Kawhi stays healthy, because then if he doesn't stay healthy, everything goes, downhill from there. Yeah, if he stays healthy, I'm looking for them to go pretty far. I like Golden State as well. They're looking really good, but Oklahoma City Thunder, good Lord.
Yeah.
Like they look good. So the playoffs have been exciting.
Yeah.
At least my opinion.
West is going to be fun. A lot of parity out there. All right, Atan, great stuff as always. We always love talking basketball with you. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll do it again next week.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Have a good one, fellas.
All right, you as well. Ton Thomas joining us here. And with that, phone lines open the rest of the way, 315-437-7644. We've got today's business on the horizon. Ooh. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.
This is not open anymore, is it? Or is it closed at midnight tonight?
Last night, it closed at midnight, I believe.
Son of a gun. I thought I put... There we go. Ooh, Feel Me Flow by Naughty by Nature. That's a good one, too. Oh. I forgot all about that song. Short Dick Man. That's a song. That's a song that they used to play. And we would sing along with in 1995. Don't want. Remember that song, guys? Short Dick Man. Don't. Should I ask Steve if he knows what that song's about? Yeah, do you remember that song? I love Oingo Boingo. It's my favorite band. Yeah, Short Dick Man. That was a Satchel Sack. That was your... Okay, if he comes back in during this commercial break, I'll ask him. It peaked at number 75, I think. No, 76 by 20 Fingers. Don't want. What if that was the song Steve got hyped up to before basketball games? Oh, Jordan remembered. Good job, Jordan. Good work, kid. You remember something we said yesterday. You got to come back in here, Steve, so I don't have to ask you on the air. Do you remember the song Short Dick Man? That was
Yes, I do.
that was number 76 in 1995. I might
Saw that. Kim chimed in with her answer. Do you want it now or you want it later?
later.
Okay.
Do you know what that song's about, Steve? We are into songs Steve will know on the Bananarama list. I forgot we told Jordan we wanted to do a sound check today, and he remembered. Good thing Sam Roberts canceled on us so we could squeeze it in. I heard a rumor, Steve.
What's the rumor?
That's the song.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know it's a song. I thought you were like segueing into something else.
Oh, no. No, I heard a rumor. That was the song.
I heard a rumor that we've got today's business
I heard a
coming
song.
up.
So tomorrow we're doing the year of the day of the month.
Tomorrow we're not doing
Or
anything because I have a national draft
Friday.
show tomorrow.
Friday. We're doing a year of the day of the month. And man, oh man, did I just laugh really hard when I saw what the number 76 song of the year was that year. I forgot that was a song. They used to play that at the clubs. It's a song by 20 Fingers. You should Google it sometime. Not in front of your kids, though. How did they get away with that song?
Yeah. Well, on the radio, they didn't actually play.
Yeah, what was the radio?
It was short
man.
Yeah, short man.
Don't want no short man.
Yeah, right.
That's not what they were talking about. Because I'm a short man. That's not what they were singing about. They weren't singing about Jordan.
Correct.
I can sit up here and give you coach speak all day long. None of that matters, and you guys don't want to hear it anyway.
When you look back in history, you can always say it was either this or it was that.
What did I do wrong? What did I see wrong?
I've got producers who have been very good to me, co-workers that I love. I don't want to talk to anybody.
I need a reporter to figure that out who's never played basketball and is 5'2".
T-Takes asked Sam Roberts, the WWE guy.
This is Orange Nation
I
with
forgot.
Stephen Fonte and Paul
Yes,
Sibylla.
that's Sam Roberts.
You weren't even close. Like you skipped the best quote in the history of sports media as well. Pete Weber, who do you think you are? I am.
I ruined everything.
No, I know. Do you want to do this twins thing first, or
No, dude, that's the kicker.
okay?
Because it's wild.
Oh, did you watch it?
Yeah, we got the audio.
What'd you think?
We got the audio. Hold on.
Okay, all right, fine.
I'll tell you what I thought at the end.
Okay.
You scripted?
Huh?
Is it fake?
I'll tell you what I thought when we.
Because it might
get
be
to
fake, and I felt
It's not fake. I don't think.
All right, so
You think it's fake?
it could be.
All right.
I could have fallen for it, but
Well,
I believed it. It
then
was
I did
great.
too.
It was great acting.
now we're talking about it. Like, do we have to talk about it now, or are we really going to save it?
We'll wait.
Okay, whenever you want to dive out of the orange round table, you can, because like you're not going to get any news from this. There were just some interesting nuggets and kind of funny parts. I'll put it this way, and I mean this with all due respect. I went into watching it last night with the idea of, like, am I really going to watch this? Like, I've heard everything from these guys. It was worth the watch. They had Justin Barron, Kyle McCord, Jackson Meeks, Marlo Wax, and Sean Dorselis, who's like one of the guys who does the interviews. I don't know the exact position name because it's a new position. Either way, sideline reporter, broadcaster, but he did a good job getting those guys to open up. The one thing I did learn, I don't think this was public, they were talking to Kyle McCord about his visit, and he kind of said that Fran Brown finessed him a little bit.
And then we came over to the facility, and they walked me through the hallway and then into like the little like common players lounge area, and then we walked out and left. And so I didn't see the locker room, training facility, anything. And so I mean, coming from Ohio State, like I just assumed that every place was a super nice facility. And then when I showed up in January after I signed and committed already, I was like, okay, this is why they didn't show me the facilities. Yeah, that was good strategy by Coach Fran, purposely not showing me that, leaving it up to imagination.
But like that's how important that the new facilities are.
Yeah,
that is a good point. Like they were hiding it from him.
They were.
I wonder if it would have changed his mind.
It literally was. They were hiding the facilities from players.
Yeah,
that's it.
Well, now they don't need to.
Yeah,
but you wonder if that would have affected his decision.
I've taken a tour of the facilities at Clemson.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, they've got like water slides and mini golf.
It's like the Taj Mahal there.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed. I don't know if this one's public either. I think this is kind of a new nugget. I know Deion Sanders was very vocal about taking players NIL, but Jackson Meeks detailed Fran Brown his quarter system, they call it.
So he wants you to go to class. He wants you to sit in the first 2 rows.
Yeah,
he wants you to make sure you have a good relationship with your teacher. So like if you ever need anything, no phones, no hoods, sit upright, don't sleep in class. He really doesn't like you he really doesn't like the extracurricular activities like smoking, drinking, none of that. So he's no nonsense. And if you got caught doing any of that, it's taking a quarter of your NIL check. And if you do it twice, he's taking a half.
And then they'd go on, and Barron, who I have a supercut of him just kind of being a lovable jerk throughout the whole thing, but he's like, so what happens if you do it 3 times? 75%.
My first experience with Fran Brown was at the bowl game down in Florida, and he was making the players take their hats off when they were talking to people.
Oh yeah,
it was.
I knew he was serious about all that. Maybe it was said aloud, but I hadn't heard about that specific system where he's like, you get caught, like a quarter of your NIL gone there, and it just keeps going. Like
it's like being an adult.
Yeah, consequences.
Where do we go now?
I mean, Marlo talked about something. We know Fran Brown brought back the quad walk and traditions. This one caught my ear because our guy Kyle Federle, frequent guest on the 315, a Syracuse men's lacrosse analyst, got a shout out talking about the cleat burning ceremony and how much it meant to Marlo Wax.
Yeah, and this was big in the Coach P era.
And burning the shoe was really cool.
It was definitely emotional. I heard that it was something that they did in the past, a tradition, but it died off. Me and JB never did that in our years, so I like that Coach Fran brought it back, and his name is Kyle. He was an equipment guy. He let him walk up and talk about it and things like that, so that was definitely nice, and everybody really was thinking about their own past and what they wanted to burn away in the fire and just behind them. Yeah, leave behind them and just let all that go and just start a new chapter.
I think that's cool because, coaches do all these things, and I don't know, like at a summer camp, for example, like the icebreakers and the little things you do and you think they're kind of silly. But, it's the end of the season. These guys, I believe the question was, like, when did you guys know that this season was going to be special, or, like, what moments will stick with you? And, like, they're referencing this, midnight workouts, like, all these little things Fran's doing very much mattered. They mentioned just living in the dorms and how with the 2-hour break, they didn't have their cars, so they couldn't walk back. They had to sit there and play cards. Just all these little things add up.
It is true, though, that when you look back on a season, like so often when you ask a player about a season, it's not a specific game that they remember. It's, like a practice or like a ritual or a team meeting or
the locker room they talked about a lot.
Yeah, usually it's something like that it changes the course of, the rest of the year. So it is interesting that they're pointing to those kinds of things.
They also really loved Barron was talking about, I think it was all of them, but that McCord viral video, I guess that was from the midnight workouts, or maybe it was the first time he did it. And they're like, yeah, like we couldn't believe you knew that song word for word. I enjoyed that. If you want to hear Barron just being snarky, you can. I'm nothing crazy.
Impressive after possibly one of the worst fall camps of all time. Can we talk about that?
We can.
Because they're going to think I'm just being mean, but it's the truth.
No, go ahead. Go from your perspective.
No,
first.
I want to hear you say it, because if I tell the story, it's mean.
Like, I definitely felt that on the field, and I'm sure all the other guys did as well.
That just wasn't the question at all. So I opt out, then we were all going to do the same and follow suit. The quarterback's leader of the team, and we decided we were going to do whatever he did. He wanted to take mad long to decide.
Nah.
Bro, they gave him a hit sticking ability, bro.
They did.
Because what he did last year,
What ability they give you?
Nothing.
Brick hands?
Barron's just a troll, and he honestly carried the whole thing for me. Just his humor. That was honestly, I was just listening to it way too late at night, and he would just say something snarky like that, and I would laugh. So I wanted to include that because that was genuinely what made that so enjoyable, was just their demeanor.
All right. Would you like to explain this, Steve or Jordan?
Well, do I want to explain it? So I just came across it on social media.
I did too, which is weird.
It was an interview done with a set of twins about a crime that was committed, right? And they had to describe what they saw. And the reporter was interviewing the twins at the same time, and they were talking at the same time. And just listen for yourself.
Hold on. Jordan, before we get into it, did the two old guys get duped? Do you think it's fake?
I don't think so.
I don't know if it's fake or not. What I will tell you is the account that is from. It's like, are you familiar with Dove Kleinman, that like sports account that posts all the kind of garbage?
So the reason I don't think we were duped is that they were on one of the late night shows last night. So
okay. So they got duped too then?
No, I think that like...
Okay. Were they answering each other's questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, here it is. This is bizarre.
Witnesses are recounting some of the drama that unfolded on the Sunshine Coast this afternoon.
Sorry. I didn't know we were going to give the
Two sisters have told how their mother and man raced to help when the carjacked SUV rolled on Steve Irwin Way, only to find the gun-wielding car thief emerging from the wreck. Here's some of what they had to say.
And one guy, he was up there with our mum. And he went up there and he was coming back down towards us and he goes, run, he's got a gun. And our heart started to pound and I said, oh, Mum, where's Mum? And poor Mum was stuck up there, but apparently our brave Mum...
That is bizarre, right?
Goes,
it is bizarre.
Are you all right? Because he had all blood all over his
They were
face.
They were both telling the story in their own words, and they were using the same words.
And they were talking over each other, which was even weirder. Just wait for the other one to shut up.
Shut up. That's what they were doing to me.
No, but it was more...
it goes on for like 2 minutes.
They were using more than one word. They were doing more than what you were doing. They were...
Mum was stuck up there, but apparently our brave Mum, she goes, are you all right? Because he had all blood all over his face. And
like,
he goes,
one of them's going first one time. They're saying it. Yeah, they're not just... it's so weird.
It was weird. I think it was authentic. Like,
I was underwhelmed when I watched it.
Really?
My initial response to watching that was, what is this?
You're just not fun.
Oh, no,
You make Steve look fun.
Well, no, I don't know. It's just...
Maybe it's an old person thing. It
just feels fake. I'm very skeptical of everything on the internet. Even if it's not fake,
maybe
it's just
boomer funny.
I don't like how they stop. If you actually, listen all the way through too, like they're not saying the same things at some parts. So it's like, okay, let's get down to business. Why are you interviewing two people at once? That alone makes me think something's fishy.
Because they're twins.
Well, they were twins.
Yeah,
and they were eyewitnesses.
You think they made the crime up?
No, I'm just saying, like, you don't have to interview them both at the same time.
If like a husband and wife witnessed a crime, you could interview them at the same time.
Yeah, and then if they talked at the same time, I'd be like, can one of you guys talk at a time? This sounds terrible.
I tell you what, Jordan,
I probably would do the same thing.
If that happened though, like if I was interviewing and like I asked one of them a question and that ensued, I don't know that I would have stopped them. Like that was to me, that was remarkable. Like it was. And you're right. Did they use 100% the same words? No, but I wouldn't.
Remarkable.
I wouldn't expect
it.
It
was annoying, but it was fun. Like me.
I don't know.
You didn't think it was like it was crazy? Like
it was weird. It was weird.
Yeah.
It didn't. It wasn't like endearing.
It didn't feel natural. Like when I was listening to it, it felt forced.
Okay. All right.
I could be wrong.
We looked at it differently. When I say remarkable, I mean something unusual that you don't normally. Extraordinary? Like that was not ordinary. That was extraordinary.
It was above average.
I'm saying it wasn't ordinary. You don't see that on a regular basis.
When I say extraordinary, I make it usually as something phenomenal. I don't use that word lately.
Okay.
Right?
I enjoyed it.
It was weird. Sure. I was it was weird enough for me to want to share it with our audience. We won awards once.
Jordan didn't like it. I did. And apparently,
is there such thing as boomer funny? Like, are we boomer? Was that
that could be. That could be.
That was funny to.
So
boom?
I'm confused. Was it funny or was it like?
It was
remarkable?
funny.
Like
it was funny to me
because it absolutely to me like there was no humor in it.
It was unusual to the point where I was like, "Wow, look at this."
See, I get
That's fair.
I find uncomfortable things funny, so that was uncomfortable and funny to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the word funny. I would say that it was.
It was funny, like
it was unusual.
Like when someone's like, you're a funny guy, but they're saying that you're weird. It was that kind of funny.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
Funny like a clown.
It's
a line.
How do I amuse you?
Yeah. Am I funny? Am I funny like a clown?
Oh.
All right. That was your kicker, yes? Dateline, wherever
that
was.
wasn't. We haven't even done
okay.
today's business.
Oh, this was sound check. Okay. They're the same thing, but it's just by a different name.
Oh, wait. When I say that, everybody yells at me. When you say it, it's fine.
not my fault. I've had 2 guests booked for me this week, and both of them have canceled. So now we have to stall.
All right. It's okay. One of them was someone I like to call a personal friend, who's not really my personal
They're both your personal friends.
Who else canceled?
We can talk about it during the break on QSportsTalk.com.
Today's business next.
Actually,
that's not my friend.
No,
I've never met that guy in my life.
I was being a smart ass because his name's Brian.
I've never met that guy in my life.
Paulie and Brian. Like that made me when I was watching it, I was like, "What are we doing here?" Like, what's...
I guess we see that Sam isn't a personal friend of Paulie's. Yes.
That was genuinely my reaction. Like, what are we? Like, what's happening?
I'll sell one of my twins so they don't become creepy if anyone wants one.
You rolled out the window when she gave me that smile. Full transparency, like that was. I was hoping to make.
I was trying to get somebody to give me a tattoo yesterday. Nobody would.
I've never even remotely thought about getting a tattoo. Should I?
I don't know. I want to get the cross of Coronado from Indiana Jones.
I think I want to get Otto the Orange under my right eyelid.
No, Ryan, you're not giving me a tattoo. I was craving one yesterday. Sometimes you get a hankering for a tattoo. Right, Nick?
I'll get Otto the Orange under one eyelid, and then the block S under the other.
Would you get like a teardrop that's actually Otto the Orange?
No, it just
some people think you murdered a mascot.
Just be Otto. It would take up like my whole cheek, and it'd just be Otto.
I killed a mascot. LA Orange will pay for you.
For mine?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Are you kidding me?
I wanted to get it right there.
My mom actually last night was like, "We should go get small matching tattoos." And I was like, my response was literally like, "If you want."
That's your response to everything, isn't it? You just did it again.
I'm not enthusiastic about anything. I'm sorry. My dog, like my cat.
Get your dog tattooed.
I like my dog and my cat. I'm very nice to them. Like Grover, we get like stink bugs in the house, and he'll like meow when there's one. And whenever he finds one, I kill it. I'm like, "Good job, Grover! Like, good job protecting the house." Or like when he's running around at 2 a.m., I'm like, "Good job, buddy."
Would you allow them to get the block S shoes on your upper eyelids? That would hurt.
S on one, U on the other. Go to games and walk around with your eyes closed.
Steve and his daughter talked about getting tattoos. I want to kind of get the whole sleeve done on this arm and just...
I'm going to ask Steve the craziest question in the history of documented questions when he walks in.
Is there anything Syracuse related I would get tattooed on my body? I don't think there is. Adrian Autry? Get Red's face tattooed on my face? Just right over it.
Just like across your back, like just get like in this like convoluted font. I was listening into your last call, and let me assure you, we game planned for PJ Hall. It just runs all the way down your torso. The logo from '96 could be cool.
Is that the S with the world around?
I think I know. Actually, I don't know. I might be getting it confused with the 03 logo.
The S world one is.
Go out the window and she give me that smile.
Try to kiss the lyrics to When the Cuse is in the House down his back.
See you, best friend.
All right, Steve, you'll never get this offer again in your life. I'll give you $1 million right now, but you have to get S tattooed on one eyelid and U on the other. $1 million. $1 million.
You don't have $1 million.
So would you do
I'd
it?
consider it for $1 million, but
But you only get the offer once, so
you don't have it.
So, Steve, we were just talking during the break. I don't know if you know this because you don't have one. Jordan doesn't have one either. Sometimes you get a craving for a tattoo. Like it's like food or a nicotine. You just get a craving. And yesterday I kind of wanted a tattoo done.
You got one?
No.
Oh.
I couldn't find anybody, but I want to get like the cross of Coronado on my arm, which isn't a real cross. It's the cross that Indiana Jones
Right, yeah,
says,
no, I'm
you
familiar.
belong in the
Yeah.
it belongs in a museum.
Right.
I would like that on my arm.
nerd.
On my forearm right here.
Nerd.
So I was thinking that, and then someone said they would pay for Jordan to get SU tattooed on his eyelids.
No, I thought they were going to pay for me to get Otto the Orange under my eyelid.
On your face.
Yeah, like a teardrop.
What would you get? You and your daughter were going to get matching?
We were. So she said she wanted to do it for her 18th birthday, and I said that I would do it. She's the one person that I would do it for. I told her that if she wanted to get matching tattoos, I would do it. And when the time came, she decided she didn't want to do it. But I think part of it was she didn't really come up with something that she felt that strongly about.
Someone says, I'm surprised Paul doesn't have a go-to. I do have a go-to girl, but she's booked for like 3 months. I just want a cross. I just wanted a quick cross.
So let me ask you that. So that would be visible. Like
I'm ready. I'm ready.
You're ready? Okay.
I'm ready for that because it's like all my tattoos are pretty much hidden. It's just I'm ready. It's 2025.
I can do a cross. I got a pen right here.
I can have one on my phone.
Well, I'm not saying it wouldn't look good. I'm saying
I'm not even worried about it. Like
I was wondering if you had thought. I mean, you have obviously thought about it, but
you wouldn't have to pay me.
Oh yeah, why don't you and your daughter get potato tattoos?
That's actually a great idea.
Wait,
that's actually a great idea.
I've been thinking about this the whole time. For some reason, thought this was assumed and on the table.
What?
That had never been brought up. You guys getting potato tattoos?
No, we never discussed.
You wouldn't get a tattoo for Kim. Someone says. Oh, ouch.
Oh.
That was a sigh you should not have done on the radio.
No, because
we're gonna have a little talk after the show.
No. So as I said that she's the one person I would do that for, I actually thought maybe I shouldn't have said that, and then sure enough, somebody picked up on that. So I suppose I would have to say there are two, I guess I have to say there are two people that I would get.
Oh, so you don't want to say it? You have.
I don't really want a tattoo, but I told my daughter I would do it.
Is there anything Syracuse related? Like, it doesn't have to be basketball or anything like sports-wise. Anything Syracuse you would get tattooed? I couldn't think of anything.
I can't think of anything either.
I thought maybe Coach Autry.
Josh Allen holding the Lombardi Trophy someday, maybe. No.
If the Padres win the World Series, I will get a swinging friar, but not until Not until then. Ellie Orange had a couple Destiny Mall tattoos. What about the dome skyline? The old or the new? If you had to get one of them.
Definitely the old.
The old? I would get the new. I like the new dome better.
You really?
Yeah,
You do?
It's better, cooler looking.
Really?
Yeah. It's way cooler looking than that just big balloon in the background.
I'm not there yet.
Is that a hot take?
I think it's a hot take.
I think the skyline of Syracuse with the new dome is way better. Jordan, vote. You're the deciding vote on this.
He wasn't listening.
The skyline.
The skyline of Syracuse, was it better with this dome or the old dome?
Oh,
the hell are you doing over there?
I mean, the old dome, that was so iconic. Like, I don't look at the new dome
It was
as
just round, though. This one's cool looking.
I don't know. I don't look at skylines a lot. I like the color.
I think the new one's way better looking.
Well, the thing, I drive to the dome at night a lot more now than I used to. So, like, I'll see the dome in the distance, like when you're driving past the school and you're about to go through the underpass and get to the West and Ray lot. And I think it's cool that, like, you can see the color from far away. So
the chat is with you, Steve.
Yeah, well, of course, people are gonna like things that didn't change.
I think that is a hot take that you like the newer one.
I think
it was better when I was alive.
It was just a big balloon. Who cares?
The old one was iconic. It was the only one like it, really, in the country.
There's nothing like what we have now.
Well, no, but they changed it because they had
Dome was
to.
better when gas was $2 a gallon.
We used to be able to get good players back then. Bring back the curtain.
All right, I do have one thing for today's business, briefly.
All right.
Go ahead. Brought to you by Grossman State and More CPAs.
Right.
GSACPAs.com. West Durham brought it up yesterday.
The Pope?
Right?
Paul Davis?
And I saw just like a post on social media that made it seem like this is more likely to happen. Obviously, college football playoffs are going to be changing regularly. And supposedly, there are talks that TV ratings could determine which conferences get more automatic bids in the playoffs. At first glance, like, this is the worst thing ever. You think about it like it's a business. It's like, okay, like maybe it makes a little bit of sense. But then you go back to this is the worst thing I ever heard. So, like, what would your reaction be if, like, the SEC got more bids than another conference because of TV?
So if you got like an 8-5 SEC team and an 8-5 SMU in the ACC, and they took the SEC team because more people watched, it makes sense. And they probably would do that anyways. They just wouldn't tell us about it.
I was just going to say, I think they already kind of do that.
Well, I think it's automatic bids, though, too. So it's like if there's an 11-win ACC team, well, they'd still get in at large. But you know what I mean? Like, the SEC basically, no matter how good other teams are, other conferences are, and we're just going to assume it's the SEC, would just get more bids.
Yeah, I think it's dangerous. I think that is a dangerous precedent to set.
I'm now shook by something in the chat because I've never once thought this. Even Paul is trying to spin to everyone the roof supports on the dome look good, and they're not an eyesore. Have you thought it's an eyesore? Like, do you think it's ugly? Do people think it's ugly?
I think it's. I wouldn't use the word eyesore or ugly.
I think it's cool.
I think it's.
And when it's lit up, different colors, it's awesome.
Wait, that's a thing? People think that?
No, I don't think it's an eyesore. I don't think it's aesthetically pleasing. I think it is what it is.
But
because
it's pretty colors.
Because it had to be.
I think it's awesome looking.
Okay,
dude. When pink comes, it's pink.
What do you guys want? It's a stadium roof. Like,
no, I know. That's why I don't care either way. Like it's shaped like that because it had to be.
Space Mountain.
Right? Guys, I bet it was green yesterday on Earth Day. Like, how cool is that? I'm just saying.
People want a roller coaster on it, though. That would be awesome, a functional roller coaster on it. On this day, April 23rd, 1985, Steve, Dateline the whole wide world.
Okay.
One of the biggest marketing blunders in the history of marketing happened. Do you know what it is?
1985. Is it something to do with like Coke and Pepsi? Is it like
correct?
Is it New Coke?
New Coke. Yes.
Okay.
The New Coke debuted on this day, and the backlash was outrageous. They were getting 8,000 calls a day from dissatisfied customers, 40,000 complaint letters in the first week.
How about that?
On July 11th, 1985, 79 days after the New Coke release, they went back to the original. And I sometimes wonder if they did it on purpose, and it's the smartest thing they've ever done. But
no publicity is bad publicity.
On this day,
did they actually change it?
Yeah, they tried to make it taste more like Pepsi.
Yeah, they changed it and then they
made
changed
it
it back.
sweeter.
Yeah. See, like when Jordan says stuff like that, I'm like,
it makes you feel boomer humor, as I was saying.
You're like, man, he wasn't even around when that happened. Yeah.
He doesn't even know Crystal Pepsi. Probably doesn't know that existed either.
No. Yeah, but judging by his face.
I've heard of it.
Oh, okay, you have. All right.
You've heard of Crystal Pepsi?
But you'd never heard of New Coke.
No.
Tab?
Heard of it.
Okay. They just recently Surge was definitely that was in the 2000s. That was like 2000.
Yeah, that's forever ago.
Jolt was in the 80s. That was like double the sugar, double the caffeine.
Can't be good for you.
It would make you run in many ways.
All right. Let's take our final timeout. We will pick our artist of the day for Friday, which is not going to be an artist at all.
It's an artist of the. It's in 1995, Jordan. So pick a song.
It's a year of the day of the month.
Short Man, already taken.
All right. Back after this on ESPN Radio.
Stephen Fonte, what do you do to work out? I don't lift like I used to. Like I used to work out with weights like you do. There are times
I like that segment. Ask Steve and Polly. What's for lunch? Is that just ground beef, carrots?
Beef, carrots, and
rice?
It smells really good for just being
bland. He's having beef, carrots, and rice.
It smells really good, actually. I don't know what's happening with the seasoning, but it's working.
There's a little teriyaki sauce on it.
Oh, a little.
It's
faint.
That's crazy.
I love Squirt.
You need me to drive you to work after?
Squirt reminds me of my dad and I golfing. He used to buy me like a 6-pack of Squirt, and he'd get loaded drunk, and I would have my 6-pack in the cooler also. Good times. Too. This teriyaki's a little too much for him, guys. Got a little spicy there.
No,
the fact that you just choked on teriyaki.
It's not the teriyaki.
Well, I think you choked on teriyaki and not the physical object.
A grain of rice went down.
So spicy.
You know what the worst part is? I didn't even make that promo because of Steve talking about doing Lobster on Channel 9.
That is
I made it because David out there got a kick out of you going, I do the and then I liked and Steve was like, sure. Yeah, sure. yeah, of course.
Yeah, the fly.
I do the fly. Fly chest. Yeah. A little too much yaki in his terry, if you know what I mean. Ah, boy. No wonder you can't swing a wood. Can't eat rice. I've been using sugar-free barbecue sauce, and it's really good.
Is it better than sugar barbecue sauce?
It tastes the same.
Do you think sugar barbecue sauce is really good?
It's just barbecue sauce.
Do you think it's really good?
I love barbecue sauce.
Okay.
All barbecue sauce. Hickory, Asian, bourbon, brown sugar, honey. Love them all.
Oh.
Steve, if you have a food truck, do we have to go to another truck to get condiments? You and Kim open dueling trucks. Kim's condiment counter. This caramelizes. It's I don't know what they use, but it's really good and it's low calorie and it's yummy. There's a handsome gentleman on the cover. Yeah, Steve, take a breath. Everybody's worried about you. You're locked in on that.
I got to be done by the time we get up here.
Okay, right. So here's the lowdown, right? John O'Derna, 12:30 Friday. Ryan Talbot, talking Bills, 1.
I told Sam 1:30.
Sam 1:30. I can't really get mad if Sam cancels because it's kind of like a whale. But I'm going to freak out if 3 of the 4 shows this week, we have to just, like, buy time for a segment because a guest I didn't.
I think it would be a funny bit, like, if Sam just kept canceling.
Every single day we say he's fucked. That would be a really good bit. Like, we got Sam Roberts. Like, Paulie, like, WWE's doing an event in Perth, Australia during your show. We got him on the show. It's going to be great. Got John Cena, too. Players only, Sunday mornings. Check it out. It's a hoot and a half. They have a couple of young, aspiring high school students interviewing other high school students. It's good.
Cruel Summer.
This is the whole reason you picked Bananarama, right?
Venus, Cruel Summer, I heard a rumor. There's a lot of good songs. This song was in the movie Karate Kid, Steve. Did you know that?
I did.
But it didn't make the soundtrack.
Why is that?
Don't ask questions. Okay. So let me throw my nugget at you and go. It was popular because it was in that movie, and then it never made the soundtrack. 1995 is the year of the day of the month for Friday.
I like how we just occasionally do that, but then some. Well, we haven't done that in a few months, I don't think.
Well, this is because I didn't want to vote on Friday. Oh, my goodness. There's so many good 1995 songs.
Oh, gosh. You told me to find a song, didn't you? And now the show is supposed to be over.
What did Kim vote for?
So I texted Kim. She immediately responded and said, Waterfalls, easy. Then she said, actually, I'm calling an audible. You Ought to Know, Alanis Morissette. So we're locking her into You Ought to Know.
Okay.
Alanis
Why do I feel
Morissette.
like we've done 1995 before?
I don't think we have. But I just saw Here Comes the Hot Stepper. That's a good one. I'm going Short Man by 20 Fingers just to make it really uncomfortable tomorrow.
Friday,
whatever.
I'm going.
We get it, Steve.
I'm going Candy Rain, Soul for Real. Love that song.
It will also include Gangster's Paradise because that was number 1, and Can't Stop Loving You by Van Halen, which was number 100.
I'm between 2. One I like and one is a meme. Do you want the song I like or the meme?
The meme.
Cotton Eye Joe.
All right, there you go.
All right, we'll see everybody on Friday.
Any
Newhouse after.